So I had the case of Howard versus Missouri Bone and Joint Center. Howard is the athlete, and he visited the clinic in November of 2000, and he wanted to work with an athletic trainer to improve his football skills. Templin is the athletic trainer that I guess got assigned to him. During his initial evaluation, he asked him questions and did measurements and did some performance testing. He'd liked a 1RM for bench press and squats, but in the lawsuit it mentions that Templin said that they didn't get to squats because they ran out of time that day. After about 3 months, he probably had already been working with him, but in January of 2001, they did a pyramid style progression. Um, and on the 8th of January, he did squats with no incidents as well as other exercises. On the 10th of January, he was doing squats. He was about on rep 5 out of 10, and he felt a pop or heard a pop and felt a sharp pain in his lower back. He instantly told Templin, the athletic trainer that he was working under, and Templin's response was no pain, no gain, and that he should push through it. So Howard finished the set, and he said that his pain went from a 6 to 10 instantly. Um, the pain went down his lower back, through his left buttock, and down his lower leg. Templin suggested stretching and using the stationary bike, but that didn't help Howard get any relief at all. Eventually, Howard was diagnosed with a herniated disc by a neurosurgeon in March. It didn't state whether he was evaluated by Templin or the clinic at all, so I don't know how his insurance handled that situation as far as him getting evaluated and things of that nature to get all the way to the neurosurgeon, because it mentions that he had several doctor visits. In August of 2005, so 4 years later, Howard filed the lawsuit saying that they were negligent of three things. He said that they had failure to conduct proper evaluation before designing the program because Howard said that Templin didn't ask him when was the last time that he had worked out previously, and because they didn't take proper measurements. Also, by instructing him to keep going after Howard had told Templin of his back pain. And the last thing was that Templin failed to discontinue the workout after being told about Howard's back pain. Within the lawsuit, within the courtroom, the neurosurgeon had testified saying that the injury was casually related to the January incident. And it says that Howard eventually won the verdict in the amount of $175,000. I believe that the Missouri Bone and Joint Center tried to appeal it, but it didn't work. It didn't go through. I agreed with the case and said that they definitely were negligent because, one, I feel like this athletic trainer, they say that he's an athletic trainer, that he's certified, but I don't know any athletic trainer that's just going to work on somebody to get their sports skills intact. So that was one thing for me. It just seemed like he was working out of his scope of practice, or if he was maybe ACSM certified, so maybe that justified it. But they also within the court had another athletic trainer testify that was a separate entity, a third party from the Joint and Bone Center, saying that that's not the way that things should have went, and that he should have evaluated and he should have ceased the exercise as soon as Howard mentioned that he felt a pop and felt the pain. I think that, as athletic trainers, we do help athletes in certain aspects of their sport, but I personally wouldn't feel comfortable creating a complete workout regimen for an athlete on that level because I'm not an exercise physiologist and I'm not a strength and conditioning coach. If they're a bone and joint center, I feel like it kind of contradicts themselves because if you're a bone and joint center, you should be working on just that. and not necessarily working on agility or a sports performance center. I think that's where he really should have went and not to this AT. I felt like the Templin, his virtues weren't patient focused. He overlooked the patient's pain and acted like it was nothing. As far as rules go, he was definitely negligent because he didn't evaluate the patient. He pushed him by saying no pain, no gain. I would never say that to a patient because you never know how severe something may or may not be. In this case, it happened to be the worst. It was severe. He had a herniated disc from it, so he should have evaluated the patient and listened when the patient told him that he heard the pop and felt the pain. When it came to beneficence, he had no sense of it because he didn't stop the athlete. He wasn't trying to look out for the athlete's best interests. Maybe at first, initially making the workout regimen, he was thinking about the athlete, but when it came down to the end of it and him telling him no pain, no gain was horrible. And that kind of went in with non-maleficence because as ATs, we do cause harm and we do cause discomfort, but the times that we do those things, we are outweighing, like our benefits outweigh the harm. But in this case, he was thinking about the patient's benefit when doing the powerlifting, but he wasn't thinking about the patient's benefit when Howard stated that he had the pain. Twice he failed to do the proper protocol. So in the statement, he mentioned that he didn't evaluate his squats beforehand or ask how much exercise he had done previously close to the time, because it also mentioned that he was coming off of an ankle injury. So he hadn't done any lower body workouts for 12 weeks prior to starting this regimen. As far as legal considerations, negligence was definitely what it was. Because as athletic trainers, we're here to help people. We're here as healthcare providers, and he provided no care at all. Like, to tell the athlete to just push through it when clearly things could have been worse is completely wrong. And when someone indicates that they're in pain, you should immediately stop what they're doing and assess what's going on. As far as like using Potter's triangle, I don't think he used it at all, because as a role, like, he wasn't thinking about the person. He wasn't being a healthcare provider, which is what you should be. You should be a healthcare provider before anything, and you weren't providing care. As far as his goals, he wasn't thinking of any greater good, because what good's going to come from someone pushing through pain when there's a pop and a sharp pain and for going from a 6 to a 10? If someone's in a 10 pain, you should automatically stop what they're doing and evaluate them and assess things, not tell them, oh, well, just do some stretching and hop on the bike. Like, I'm pretty sure it's more extent than that. And as far as rules, he broke several of them. So his moral ethical equilibrium is completely out of whack. And in summary, I just feel like his myself or other, and as when you look at Kitters and you look at paradigms of individual versus community, he was blatantly thinking about himself, because he's already came off as a selfish person to me, because during the initial evaluation, he said that they didn't get to squats because they ran out of time. So how long is it going to take you to evaluate squats or ask questions about squats that you couldn't have given your patient that extra step or given your patient those 5 to 10 minutes of your time? So maybe in the process of this patient doing these lifts and these squats, he was probably on a time crunch that day maybe, and was like, well, you push through it, you get through it, and didn't want to put forth the effort to do the evaluation to see what really was going on. So I think when it comes to myself or others, he's definitely a myself only person, and couldn't really put himself in the other person's shoes and have empathy for what was going on for him to find out more. So he was definitely negligent, and I agree with the case 100%.